All right, happy Thursday, baseball fans everywhere, because welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here on MajorLeagues1.com. I'm Paul Russo, joined as always by Kyle Evans. Kyle, happy Thursday, made to late week edition, and it's going to be a different tone to the podcast today. It's a bit, I'd say, on the negative-ish side, if you will. Because it's, as two baseball guys, we don't like playing sub 500 or 500 ball. And that's what we got pretty much going on with all four of the teams we really talk about, whether it be in the majors or minor leagues.
Yep, and most of it seems to be offensive struggles, which makes the games much harder to watch because, when it gets to be 3-4 nothing, the game seems over with the way the offenses are kind of going right now.
Yeah, and we'll obviously discuss. It's kind of weird. I know we talked about it a lot last year. We haven't done a ton of it this year just yet, but there's a lot of similarities, again, between, to me anyway, the Yankees and the Mets, and we'll dive into them first. I know the Mets are on the docket first in terms of discussion, but first we got to thank a couple of sponsors, including Dr. Jeffrey Halstead. He has been candid with leading hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. Visit them online at candidwithdentistry.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram. And Kyle, do you know I'm a car guy by chance?
I do.
Guy. Figured, yeah. Well, Auburn Auto Group, if you're a car guy like myself, go check them out. When it comes to selection and service after the sale, Auburn Auto Group has been the premier destination for new and used car buyers for close to 40 years. Among the brands offered on their Route 5 in Auburn location includes Chevrolet, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Honda, Toyota, and Subaru. Thanks to their wide range of make and models, you are sure to find your new or used car at the Auburn Auto Group. So, appreciate their support as always. Yeah, let's jump right in here. Begin with the Mets. It's kind of funny because I know I talked last week really about how when you come across teams that you need to just handle business against, right? And I even said it last week against, when the Mets play the A's, that I don't necessarily mean you go out when you win every game. That's just sports. It's not how it operates. It's whatever. But you go out and you handle business. If you go out and lose a game, for example, 6-5, you're in it the whole time. You make the noise. You're bound to lose some of those games every now and then. It's a little bit different when you just aren't in the games. And the Nationals are better, albeit slightly better than Oakland. But for a team like the Mets, it's a team that you should go out and you should handle business against. And we'll circle, obviously, with the Yankees here because Minnesota is leagues above both of those two teams right now. But, again, it's a team that the Yankees should be handling with relative ease, and they couldn't. So it's one of those things where there's going to be a lot of mere talking about today. But for the Mets, they've just been outplayed by a team that it shouldn't be happening against, to be quite honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're scoring one run. I think it was back-to-back games, one run, 4 or 5 hits each game, and just not good enough. And they're having the same trouble as the Yankees, too, I noticed. If you look at the box score, all their hits are singles. They're not getting any extra base hits. They're not hitting home runs. It's a complete struggle on the offensive side, and then, of course, each of the Yankees and Mets' bottom of the lineups have been really bad. So on the top of the order, the key guys aren't clicking right now. It makes it really bad, and the pitching can only give up 2, 3, 4 runs, or else it's already over with the way the offense is going.
Right, and I think we'll talk about the offense too here, obviously, in a second here, because you brought up a good point, though, pitching, and we talked about it not at length, right? But I know Peterson's coming back up in the rotation here this weekend against Atlanta, and it's really interesting because, Senga didn't look bad last night, for example. He had 7 Ks yesterday, but he looked really good still. But again, it's the same problem, that we've been talking about, for example, with the Yankees here the past week or so, where it doesn't seem to matter how good, obviously, your pitching is. If you can't get the other part of the team to come along and play baseball, it doesn't matter, right? And you can kind of see that now, specifically here, and it's weird because there was a lot of, again, I think some maybe jumps here to a degree, but the Mets have lost 4 straight, dating back to Saturday's loss in San Francisco all the way through. But the offense in San Francisco, those final 2 games even, what was there? I mean, it's not like it ran away and hid, which is why I did kind of chuckle, although I do feel it does need to be brought up because we talked a little bit about, again, going back to last week a little bit with the Mets, right, like a guy like Nimmo, okay, good, he's, coming into the fold here and everything like that, but it's pretty apparent the way that lineup is currently structured. If Pete Alonso is off, if Francisco Lindor is off, currently that team's going to be sputtering a little bit. And for really the first 2 games of this national series, and I didn't go back enough to look at the San Fran stuff, that portion's on me, but when, those 2 are just off, it's tough sledding for the Mets. I mean, that's a spot where the other guys just, figure out a way to kind of step up and figure it out.
Yeah, and the thing about them right now is they're not dealing with any injuries like the Yankees are to their starting lineup.
Right, yeah.
Like for the Yankees, it's Stanton and Bader who, are not in the lineup right now. But for them, they got everyone in the lineup. And like I said earlier, when the top of the order is not clicking, the bottom of the order isn't helping out either, exactly like the Yankees. The problems are almost identical. But like you just said, too, the offensive struggles didn't happen in San Francisco. They put up runs. Their pitching kind of let them down a little bit. These offensive struggles started on this homestand. It's only been 2 games. So I guess we'll see if they, kind of bounce back today. And they did face Mackenzie Gore yesterday, who a lot of people don't really know too much about, but he's a pretty solid pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, technically top prospect with the Padres, came over.
And then another young arm on, Tuesday when they faced Josiah Gray. He looked pretty solid, too. Yeah. But, yeah, you still got to find a way to beat the Nationals. The Nationals, aren't considered a top team. But for me, the Mets haven't struggled long enough offensively yet to worry. Where, yeah, the Yankees put up a big number yesterday, but their struggles have been way longer than the Mets.
Right. And I think that's the thing, too. I think part of this is, and obviously we are, we are a New York media outlet, but not New York City in that sense. So, the information that, we look at in terms of, for the podcast here, right, is just okay, we're looking at what we're getting told from, whether it's, you look at, whether it's like Tacoma or, on the Yankees side of things, whether it's like a guy like Jack Curry, stuff like that. And, it's funny because I actually talked about it on Fresh Takes a little bit yesterday, and I'll bring it up, now a little bit. The New York media, and the papers are going to always have, their own slant to things. They have always kind of tended to work for the teams, if you will, and not for the players. And, it goes without saying. You didn't need to read, the Ricky Henderson biography by Howard Bryant to know that. But it's one of those things you look at, it only takes one mess up, and these guys are on you for the most part. And, the top headline out of everything is when Lindor and Alonso are off, the Mets lineup is lopsidedly bad. I'm like, is it exactly though? Yeah, okay. If I get down to the baseball elements of it, I'll allow it, right? I won't allow for the sensationalization of it it's this end-all be-all issue. It takes some tweaking. It's whatever, but we are 25 games in for both the Yankees and the Mets at this point. Okay? It's early on in the season still. Are these series for both teams coming up pivotal? Yeah, I mean the Braves are coming into Citi Field this weekend, and the Mets are in second place, 3 games back of the Braves. You don't want to go in and get swept by the Braves and put yourself on the 8 ball 6 games back. Kind of like the Yankees are right now with the Rays. So, I just, I'm going to go ahead and say, like, don't panic. I find a lot of what's going on right now to be maybe a little bit trying to handle the expectation of it. But you mentioned, right, Kyle, the Mets injuries aren't on offense for the most part. It's on the defensive or the pitching end of things. And I think a guy, as much as I hate him, but a guy like Verlander's big here because he just is another veteran guy to have in the clubhouse. He knows winning. He knows how to win. He's busy. He's in Florida rehabbing, he's close. I mean, we're a day away from his minor league rehab start. We don't know where it's going to be yet still as of, it's 11:09 right now on Thursday. We don't know where it's going to be yet, but he's going to be rejoining the team next week the way it sounds still. That hasn't shifted from when we talked Monday about it. And that's big. And a guy like Carrasco, too, is big. He's been around winning teams. He's been part of winning teams in Cleveland. And obviously, last year with the Mets, he's been more close to the team still while he's been rehabbing. But, having those guys back in the clubhouse every day, I think, will help with, to be honest, a relatively younger-ish, inexperienced team in terms of winning, right? I mean, when Pete Alonso first came on the scene, the Mets were, frankly, what we always talk about, the lull Mets, laughable Mets. Lindor's been part of winning too, but, one guy can't fully make a difference in that realm sometimes. It needs to be that team collective group effort. It kind of makes me wonder a little bit, and obviously it's a little bit different because he has to be technically away from the team right now, but, throughout this stretch, I mean, Max Scherzer hasn't been around because of the suspension either. Kind of makes you wonder a little bit how maybe the last couple of days have gone, and I think that's another key part of this too, Kyle. Is someone, you talk about the pitching, right? Say that they faced with the Nationals, but, Jose Butto takes the loss on Tuesday night. Well, that's supposed to be Max Scherzer's slot, and if he's on the bump, that puts you at a, not knocking against Butto, he's still one of the top prospects, but, he still is not Max Scherzer at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just kind of want to go back to the whole panicking thing. I guess right now I wouldn't use the word panic, but we saw last year the Yankees got off to such a historic start, and they really struggled in the second half, and the Blue Jays did all they could to catch the Yankees, but because of this April and May start last year, they couldn't. So just my thinking right now is if the Yankees were to go and lose 3 out of 4 to Texas, the Rays got Chicago this weekend. There's a chance by the end of this month that they could be 9 back. I get that it's April, but when a team gets off to such a big start like that, it's tough to make up ground, even though it's only the first month of the season. So I don't think Yankee fans should panic right now, but if they go into Texas and lose 3 of 4, I think it's okay to worry because 9 back at the end of April, that's tough. You're going to need the Rays to go on a long losing streak and then the Yankees to catch fire, and that's tough to do in a baseball season.
Right.
So you don't want to fall that far behind. And then for the Mets, I think tonight's huge because then coming up you have 4 with the Braves, a team you're already 3 behind. So these division races could kind of change quickly. Like by the end of the weekend, the Mets could be 6 or 7 games out, and the Yankees could be 9 or 10. Like it could be that bad. And I get it's only April, but these games do matter, as we saw last year.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want to make it sound like I throw away these first 30 or so days. I think it's very indicative, right, of where teams can be and where they can go. I'm with you there. I think it's just this element of you're still trying to figure out your team. Like, look across the MLB, for example. And I don't, even though, like, offensively, I expected this maybe out of this team, but pitching-wise, I think they're a bit over their heads at the moment, is Pittsburgh, right? Do we really expect Pittsburgh, for example, to keep up the pace that they're on? Probably not, right?
Oh, they're pitching, nope.
Right, and, again, I'm not trying to, like, knock them, but it's the way it kind of is right now, okay? Do we really expect Seattle to be kind of being outscored at the clip they're being outscored at the moment? No, probably not. It's one of those things where teams are still trying to figure out where they kind of fall in the landscape and trying to get themselves back in it, And that's a lot of where this first month comes into play, where it's like, for me, I don't want to do the nuclear, alarm thing here, because it's just one of those things where it's like, if we were to do that every time or every year with some of these teams, it's just a hell of existence to be in. And I don't think that's fair to players, management, down to the fans in that regard, even if they're the ones doing it to themselves in this case, in my mind. So it's kind of whatever. I like I said, I don't see any reason to panic, even across the board here for the Mets or the Yankees that we'll get to here in a few minutes. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's baseball, okay? Ebbs and flows. To do the old cliche, you're a Hall of Famer in baseball when you fail 7 of 10 times.
Yeah, there was a stat I saw the other day. Jack Curry tweeted out. I can't remember the exact numbers, so I'm kind of just going to, say what I kind of remember. But if the Rays were to go 500 the rest of the season, they still win like 94 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, it's incredible. It's going to be so tough for the Yankees to make up this ground, especially if they go and lose 3 of 4, which is very possible. The Rangers are a good team, and the pitching matchups don't necessarily favor the Yankees too much if you look at them when you say them coming up here. But so I don't know. I'm not too worried right now. But if we come in Monday and they are 9 or 10 out, I think it's definitely okay to worry.
Yeah, and I think at that point there's more broader discussion to be having. That's probably really, to be fair, on both the Yankees and the Mets at that point, in that sense, where it's like, if you can't get a game, a series, against some of these teams, for example, then I think it's one of those, like, just, you have to just look at the mirror and kind of face the music as to what needs to be done. And I think I'll save that portion of it for in a few minutes here. But for me, like, with the Mets, like, we know what this lineup can do. And I think, for me anyway, and I think you're this way too. Like, when we talked about, I mean, part of it at this point for me too is with them, and I think it's a lot of kind of like what the Yankees did last year. Like, just give these young guys a chance at this point, to me. Beatty's been getting a little bit more opportunity. I just would assume to see him and Alvarez, and at this point, just bring up Vientos, bring up Mauricio, and just let these kids ride.
Yeah,
like,
how are they only playing twice last week?
Yeah, like, I don't understand, and the Yankees still have this problem to a degree. Like, I just don't understand why, if you're struggling, why not why not just throw the buoy out and bring these guys up and or put them in two of them situations, and just see what happens. I mean, what's the worst that could happen this time of year if this is the way we're gauging it, in that sense? So, and like I said, I know you feel the same way about it, but you have options available if you want to try something different here. Like, why not try it?
Yep. And the Yankees, I don't know if you were going to talk about it coming up, but
yeah.
A guy who I think should be up is Jake Bauers. The guy is absolutely raking. Yeah. He's a left-handed hitter. He's on a switcher. I don't know much
lefty.
about him. Yeah,
Straight
so
lefty.
Just a lefty. At this point, you need a spark. Like, yeah, I get they put up a lot of runs yesterday, but it was also Kenta Maeda, who was 0-3 with like over a 4 ERA.
Yeah.
And then after he left the game, they did no damage at all. So at this point, I'm all for just trying to find that spark, and Oswald Peraza has to be in the lineup every single day. Same for Oswaldo Cabrera. I don't get giving Oswaldo 2-3 days off in a row. You don't just keep giving Hicks starts. Let Oswaldo play. He played so much at the end of last year. Why are you not letting him play more this year? And then when Boone's asked about it, he said it's all about matchups. So you really trust Hicks more than Oswaldo? Give me a break.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, we'll circle back to the Yankee portion of it, because I mean, Bauers was a guy I brought up on Monday. Even was just like, maybe the average isn't quite where you want it to be, but I think he's leading or tied for the lead in AAA with 9 home runs. I can't remember what it is exactly, but he's just absolutely raking. Let's circle back here for a quick moment here, kind of sticking on the Carlos Carrasco train. He's actually began in the past couple of days a throwing program. I think it was a little bit on the front end of where the shutdown was overall. But if you don't know, been dealing obviously with the elbow issue involving a bone spur. He had surgery on it back in 2021. They knocked him out for a while when he was still with Cleveland. Mets would hope this would heal without surgery. That's the way it kind of looks right now. Also within that, it's been revealed that he actually received a cortisone shot early within the treatment to relieve pain that he did have in this. So you're bringing back, obviously we know Verlander's next week. Carrasco appears to be probably still a few weeks out, but at least he's began throwing again. Some positive stuff there, at least with the Mets.
Yeah, and I did hear something about Jose Quintana yesterday. I think he's possibly close to throwing. Too.
Yeah, he's still a little bit further out.
He has a checkup tomorrow.
Right.
If that goes well, if they say it's going well, then I guess he could start throwing again. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, it's not really the offense. The Mets offense isn't dealing with issues. It's really the pitching. And for me, the pitching for the Mets has been pretty solid for the most part. I mean, they struggled a little bit against the Giants, but more times than not, they're in games like the last two against the Nationals. There's no reason why they couldn't have won one or two of those games. Mm-hmm. They held them to 4 runs. That's doable with the Mets offense, but Mets couldn't get anything going.
Right. Yeah, and they have one more here against the Nationals to try and get it back going. That game obviously is tonight. That'll be former teammate of a lot of the guys, Trevor Williams against Joey Lucchesi. It's a 7:10 first pitch on SNY. Before we get to the Braves, I will go ahead and say that the Mets do get it done tonight. This is actually probably Williams' best year so far at the moment in this small sample size since probably his early Pirates days, I would say, right? Like, I mean, he's looked pretty good. I mean, even though I thought last year the Mets he did pretty all right, but I mean, in terms of having like his ERA down and a lot of those other kind of like advances type stuff, I mean, he's looking probably about as good as he ever has been, to be quite honest, in a weird way. But I will say the Mets do get it done tonight and at least get that one win in this series.
See, this was kind of the game where in the series I thought they would lose, but then they dropped the first two. But I'm going to stick with it. Mets get swept.
Wow.
And the offense scores more than one run tonight, but Joey struggles a little bit this time out. And the Nationals just kind of barely get a win, I'll say that. Maybe 1 or 2 run win. And then they'll get swept, and then they have Atlanta coming up, which is going to be real tough.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of alluded to it. Atlanta 3 games this weekend. Tomorrow night, 7:10 first pitch on your local Picks affiliate or MLB Network. Atlanta's TBA across the board. I'm not too sure why. Everything appeared to be fine with them kind of going forward here, but I'm not too sure what's up. So Peterson gets a nod, kind of alluded to that. Friday night. Saturday, late afternoon game, 4:05 on Fox. Tyler Magel gets to start there. And then Sunday, 1:40 first pitch on SNY will be Jose Buto getting the nod. So,
wait, it is a 4-game series.
Oh, they do play Monday?
Yeah, there's a game Monday at 1:10. I just looked.
Perhaps my internet was not working right when I was getting the notes then.
Yeah.
Well, either way, we talk about that later on then on Monday. But 4 games then, that's pretty big.
Yeah, I checked the May schedule and it said May 1st.
Yeah, I think they probably do a true split with Atlanta, to be quite honest. Then 2-2. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting the Braves don't have anybody de facto announced yet for starting. That tells me that also they might be calling somebody up from AAA, a la Schuster maybe. I don't know though. Who knows? I'll go true split against the Braves.
I don't know. I think this Braves team is real good. I think 3 of 4 for the Braves.
Oh my gosh.
And if that does come true, if they get swept today and lose 3 of 4, oh my, will Mets fans be really ticked off. But then I'm looking at their schedule, just jumping ahead real quick. They got 3 with the Tigers, 3 with the Rockies, 3 with the Reds, and 4 with the Nationals. That right after this Braves series coming up, schedule gets a little bit easier for them. Although they just lost 2 to the Nationals, so who knows? But I don't know. I just think it's a little rough stretch right now. Um, and yeah, 3 of 4 for the Braves.
I have some breaking baseball news. Drew Magee is in the starting lineup today at third base for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I saw his pinch hit at bat last night.
pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. If you have not heard that story, do yourself a favor, go and do it. 13 years in the minors, and finally kind of getting the at bats. He'd been on up on the big leagues before last year a little bit.
Just never in the game.
Just never got in the games. Yeah, so pretty interesting.
I'll make a prediction. He homers today.
Oh, you're going for it.
Yep.
I like that, actually. I'm proud of you. Not being as proud, the Yankees here dropped their second series in a row. They lost 2 to Minnesota. They were able to get the getaway game yesterday. A couple different things, and we already talked, I think, a lot about it with the Mets, and I don't want to do maybe a lot of, like I mentioned, there's a lot of mere talking kind of with both these teams at the moment, but the offense really, outside of yesterday, like you mentioned, Kyle, was pretty much non-existent. And even though what I found kind of funny yesterday was maybe the most consistent bat they've had in the lineup was 0 for 4 and DJ LeMahieu. So
Did get robbed of home run.
fair, but I
Still got a sac fly, but
right. So again, I don't want to it's a little bit different. Like Minnesota is definitely way better than Washington, and certainly way better than Oakland.
yeah, their starting pitching ERA was up in the top 5 when they showed the graphic on Yes.
Yeah, but it's a team the Yankees should handle, and they just frankly didn't. And this has been a discussion that we've been having really the last 10 days about the Yankees and the offense. Just what can they do to kind of figure it out? And now we're kind of seeing different lineup tweaks here and there again. Willie Calhoun's gotten a lot of run here.
Judge was batting third.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about Judge here in just a second, but I don't know what to make of the Yankee offense at the moment. I don't know if they just need stability back, aka a guy like Stanton, or what. You mentioned, obviously, Kyle, there is reinforcements coming, and we'll discuss more of that in depth here in a moment as well with Harrison Bader, but just a sloppy no-show performance for the Yankees over the course of the first 2 days of the series.
Yeah, and like I said, they did all the damage against one guy yesterday. It was Kenta Maeda. After that, they didn't score a single run. They're up 11-1 after 4, or 12-1 after 4. I forgot exactly, but yeah, I'm still not really convinced that the offense is back. I mean, the Rangers series, they got a lot of solid pitchers going for them, and we'll see what happens, but I don't think the bottom of the lineup is ever going to get going. I thought Michael Case said it well yesterday. Basically, they only have 8 guys in the lineup. The catchers don't really produce much. Then they got guys in the bottom of the lineup like Franchy Cordero, who was 1 for 27. You got Willie Calhoun, who did have 2 hits yesterday, but they showed a graphic of his WAR over the last several seasons. Mm-hmm. He's been one of the worst players in Major League Baseball.
He's literally been, I can't remember the exact number, but he's literally been a detriment to be on the field. He's one of I think it's only a couple guys who have actually been a true detriment to be on the field.
So when you have Cordero, you have Calhoun, you have Hicks, and then add in Higashioka in the bottom of the lineup. Mm-hmm. Higashioka runs into some homers here and there, but right. When you got those 4 at the bottom of your lineup...
And it's tough for me to do the catcher thing, especially since we know why him and Trevino are the catchers,
Yeah, this isn't JT Realmuto on the bottom of the lineup.
Right.
So, yeah, when you have those 4 guys and the top is struggling a bit, I mean, like I said last show, what do you expect? And I think this all falls on Brian Cashman. There's no solid depth, and it's not just going to change. They can go out and get a bat at the trade deadline, but... what are you going to get? Who are you going to give up? That was the problem that they had during the offseason. They didn't want to give up a lot for Brian Reynolds. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how this bottom of the lineup's ever really going to get going. A guy might hit a home run here and there in the bottom of the order, but consistency in that bottom of the order, not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's stuff that we even talked about maybe through the offseason a little bit. It's just we were kind of wondering a little bit, what the exact game plan was anyway in the outfield, and it seemed like they were just kind of doing a very touch and go project with it. I figured Ortega was going to be the answer, and in terms of being the 4th guy, and all of a sudden just wasn't. He's back with the Cubs, I think, and it's what the hell. And you know, we talked. I talk about a little bit like with Monday how it's like, oh, they just randomly brought in like Cole Calhoun, like
Who's also been terrible the last 2 years.
right. Like
Hasn't been good in 3 years.
it seems like he's just kind of throwing different pieces out there, just kind of like hoping one of them sticks. In
They're
a way.
looking for like a Mike Talkman or a Matt Carpenter to just come out of nowhere. And I think that's what they thought with Frenchie Cordero when he got off to that little 2-week stretch. And I think he's back to the old Frenchie Cordero. He even misplayed a ball out in right field. And when they first signed him, I said on this podcast that if you look at his defensive numbers, he's a terrible outfielder. And he looked like that other night in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think I would hope for the sake of the team they're kind of looking at different options possibly available. Whether I know we mentioned like Jake Bowers, could he be in play here as a possible trade option available out there? Who knows? But I would imagine they're looking at a couple different options. One outfielder that at least yesterday didn't have a big issue on his 31st birthday. Aaron Judge, big birthday day for him. Kind of one of those things where you always want to show out anyway, but no bigger day than your own birthday in a sense. And huge day, 3 for 3, looking good, felt good, played good.
Yeah, he hit the ball hard all 4 times, but, only 3 hits. I say only 3 hits as a joke, guys. But, yeah, I thought he looked real good. I thought he was looking good before this game. He was hitting balls hard, just nothing to show for.
Right.
And I think he'll get going. In fact, I already have taken a bet on him tonight. So I think he'll get going, and that'll be huge. I feel like when he goes, the offense kind of goes. But again, he can't just be carrying the team. Other guys got to step up. Although I have been impressed with Anthony Volpe. He's starting to hit. His last 15 games, he's like over 300. He had 2 hits yesterday. So if he gets going, Anthony Rizzo's cooling off a bit. But, I mean, that's kind of expected. He was kind of the only one. Him and DJ were the only ones hitting for a while. So now you need, like, Judge and Volpe to kind of carry the load. And, someone else, maybe like Glaber. You need Glaber to get going again. He wasn't in the lineup yesterday, so maybe he'll get going today. But, yeah, you just got to get more from this lineup. And I know they're capable of doing it. The top 5 guys in the order should be able to carry this team a little bit until Bader and Stanton get back.
I think it helps too, at least with the Volpe thing. They've brought him up in the lineup. That just means go back to like the Mets thing, right? Having these young guys have more opportunity. Well, that's more opportunity in and of itself as well. You're getting an extra at bat a game. You're seeing a few more pitches. That's pretty big. Harrison Bader. Alluded to him a little bit. Now we can really jump into this for a couple minutes. Nearing a return to the big league roster, has joined AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre this week after briefly, and I mean briefly, playing with AA Somerset, like was the initial plan. Aaron Boone said he doesn't expect Bader to be ready to go for the next week's series against the Guardians, but he could be in play to return against the Rays later on in the week. And that would be big. That kind of resets, the outfield, gets you that bat back in the lineup, gives you a little bit of not as much worry, I would say, in terms of an offense that, we're not the hard bat, but needs a spark plug, and Bader could certainly be that spark plug.
Yeah, it's a nice bat to get back. Nice outfielder, center fielder, guy who has speed on the bases. But I do want to say this. Don't expect the offense to just automatically start going off because he's back. I think he certainly helps, but there's more that needs to happen with this lineup for them to, get going offensively. So, yeah, hopefully he's back, in the next week or so. I have been following his at-bats, on his rehab assignment. Seems like he's hitting the ball pretty hard. Not much results, but, as long as he's hitting the ball hard, staying healthy, that's kind of what matters right now.
Guys will say, so do you. He's looking pretty good to go at the moment.
Yeah, I saw he hit a ball like 111 miles an hour last night, line out to center.
So, okay, yeah. Seems not bad at all. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about, like, the instant offense type thing. I think, though, it gives you, frankly, look at the playoffs last year for the Yankees. He was kind of that loose guy that they needed as well, I'd say, in the moment. And
yeah, where do you think he'll put him? Or where do you think Aaron Boone will put him in the lineup? Because I don't think he's not going to go to number one. I think Volpe's staying there for a little while.
I'll say I'd probably put him 2, to be quite honest.
And they like DJ in that middle of the order, and I do too. I don't know about you, but he's got a lot more RBI opportunities, and he's good with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, I think I'd probably would go that top portion. Someone like maybe Volpe, Bader, Judge, LeMahieu, Rizzo.
Yeah, do you think they should move Judge and keep him at 3?
Yeah.
Like they did two days ago?
Yeah, I think so.
I liked it.
Yeah. I think at that point it kind of spreads the lineup out a little bit evenly. I think at that point it kind of allows you a little bit more flexibility, I think, at the bottom of the lineup to maybe not hide guys, but you could stick a guy like Oswaldo at 9 and get away with it.
Yep.
He's not your ideal maybe flip the order type guy, but he's not going to put you in a perilous spot, if you will. At that point too, I think you could kind of, when he's the one catching, you can stick Trevino at 6. Whenever we do the hypothetical, or whenever Donaldson comes back, maybe you can just pull him at 6 there, put Trevino at 8, and then 7 can be your like floating guy of whether that would have to be
They love Glaber cleanup.
like Hicks or something like that. Yeah, I don't know when Glaber.
They love him 4th or 5th, it seems like. But with Bader back, I don't think that's going to happen much.
Yeah, I mean Glaber's an interesting one. Glaber you could maybe put at 9, but like I don't know if I wouldn't do that. I think you got to have him more up. Maybe he's that 6-hole guy then at that point. Like I don't know. It's an interesting spot. Now that I'm kind of workshopping this out. Huh. I mean, it's not a bad problem to have in that sense, but like.
And I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but who do you think goes down for Bader? Or what do you think the move is? DFA Hicks? That would be the best option, but I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be more of like Calhoun or something.
I don't know. I mean, the Diamondbacks DFA'd Bumgarner. I mean, I think DFAing Hicks might actually just be on the table at this point. He won't be owed as much money as Bumgarner does. I know we're comparing probably a little bit of apples to oranges here, but like honestly, if Arizona's more than willing, a team that we know is not keen on going out and exactly spending money on certain guys, if they're more than willing to just eat the contract of a guy that they brought in, was hoping was going to be the anchor of a staff and just wasn't, if you're the Yankees, I think you just got to eat the $10 million on Hicks.
And you can tell he's not happy to be there. He's not happy that he doesn't play every day. He just slams his helmet down every time,
right? Because
he strikes out 1,000 times. So like I just think it's best for both sides. You just got to make the move
and the one spot on his game where it's never been a blemish, he has struggled in the field here lately as well.
And I don't know about you, but it kind of pisses me off watching him in the outfield. Seems like he doesn't hustle enough anymore. He kind of just runs to the corner when the ball's going in the corner and just digs it up and nonchalantly just throws it in. Just don't like his hustle. I don't like his attitude. I just know he's not happy, so just DFA him, let him go somewhere else, and I guarantee he'll turn into Joey Gallo. He'll play well somewhere else.
Yeah, except I think there's a lot of baseball people who agree though that seeing Gallo succeed or Sonny Gray succeed is a lot better when they actually kind of appear to at least give a damn, so. All right, let's talk about the series coming up in Texas, 4 games against the Rangers. Beginning tonight, 8:05 first pitch, Cole versus Yankee legend Andrew Haney.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to dominate like Sonny Gray did.
Right. Tomorrow night, Friday, 8:05, Clark Schmidt against Jacob deGrom. Saturday, 7:05 on Yes, Johnny Brito against Nathan Eovaldi, another former Yankee legend. And then Sunday, 2:35 first pitch on Yes or MLB Network, Nestor Cortez against Martin Perez. This might be wishful thinking, but I think they get 3 of the 4.
I hope you're right, but
Texas, though, has been a really interesting team to watch. One game they look like they are just going to run roughshod through the league. The next game they look like a bunch of scared T-ballers. I don't know what to make of them sometimes. Sometimes it's like that inning to inning for them even. So, I'm not too sure, but I think the Yankees get 3 of 4. I don't know where exactly in the series. It'll probably be, like tomorrow night where Jacob deGrom just looks like he's 2015 Jacob deGrom type thing. So, but that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm going with in my prognostication.
I was gonna say, everyone's kind of talking about tomorrow's pitching matchup. I mean, I know I have. You look at Clark Schmidt versus Jacob deGrom, but what if that's one of the games the Yankees win? What if somehow they get to deGrom and it just seems like it would be typical Yankees to pull out a game like that and then lose a game to like Sonny Gray a couple days ago. But I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen. But it wouldn't surprise me. I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I really only think they win one game. I mean, maybe two, but I see one game here. I'm going to stick with one game.
So here's the thing. I think what we can officially garner here is I am, in fact, the optimistic one, and Kyle, you are the pessimistic one.
I just don't know how they're going to get going against some of these pitchers, like Eovaldi and, deGrom and even Perez. Look at his ERA.
That's fair. No, that's definitely fair.
I'm not saying that, Garrett Cole's going to be awful tonight, the offense, I don't know. I'm just not confident right now. So, yeah, I'll just say one. We'll see what happens.
No, I mean, that's fair. I'm not going to disagree there in that sense. All right, before we get out of here, both the Syracuse Mets and the Rochester Red Wings in their series, respectively, have split their first two games. Stop me if you heard that sentence before, because we've said it every Thursday. It's tough. I admittedly don't know where to kind of go with this portion of it because it's just a lot of the same with them at the moment. But one thing I did want to mention is, we talk a ton about for Syracuse is just like Vientos and Mauricio and Beatty when he was down there. But Darren Baker right now batting, he's got the average up to 329 for Rochester. And, I mentioned with them how it's, you got a couple different guys that are doing different things, type thing, whether it's Baker, who's a prospect, to Matt Adams, who's trying to find his way back to the big leagues. But, Adams has done really well so far, and Baker here over the course of the past kind of, I'd say, 10-ish to 2 weeks full, has really just kind of turned on the afterburner once he got those first few at-bats at AAA under his belt. So look, when he was up with Rochester at the start of the year this year, when he made the opening day roster with the Red Wings, the highest he's been so far in minor league baseball. And AA, I know, is where you figure out whether you're going to make it or not. But at the end of the day, that AA to AAA rise, it's still a rise. And that's because at that point you do have, your former big leaguers roaming around out there. And I know he's not with a team at the moment, but, I bet you, he would be like, oh, Mike Montgomery, like, okay, you know what you're going to see out of him, right? Like, that's a big league arm at the end of the day. As opposed to just, the equivalent of me out there at, low A ball type thing, So seeing a guy like him kind of really stepping up here, especially at the top of that lineup, maybe set the table and get things going, I think that's pretty big for Rochester and for them to hopefully maybe kind of get it figured out a little bit here. Because even in the games that they have lost really over the course of the past week or so, I know Tuesday wasn't the case, and even a couple against Norfolk wasn't the case, but they've slowly have put themselves back in games, and I think that's a big thing here for the team where it's like, okay, one thing can kind of go to another, and if you can tip it one way, it will go your way. And I think that's pretty big at this point.
Yeah, I feel like it's, like you kind of mentioned, though, it's repetitive with these teams. The same issues kind of keep reoccurring. You look at the game right now, Rochester's playing. They're already down 3-0 in the third inning because that was 11:05
Education day, yeah.
It's just so repetitive with these teams. And I don't know. I don't know really what there is to say about them. Baker has looked good defensively, too. I've seen a lot of highlights from him. So maybe eventually he earns himself a call-up, but just not really much to talk about with these teams other than offensive issues for the Red Wings and a little bit of pitching issues. Syracuse seems like they have no problem scoring runs. Their pitching kind of lets them down sometimes. But, yeah, I still think Syracuse is the better team of them both.
Yeah, definitely right now. And it's tough, too, because now you're starting to see the major league guys or the non-40 guys who can opt out of these deals. A couple of them are kind of doing like Franklin Colomé. I know he was released this past week with Rochester. Nothing on that front just yet with Syracuse, I've noticed, and I think that might be telling a little bit of just maybe, how things could be potentially going a little bit in that sense. And the thing is too, and I think it's underrated, is like you have to remember the way it's structured this year with AAA is, you can write off the first half of the year because, all you need is the best record in the second half and you have a spot in the playoff now. And I don't want to say that's, a thing here because you want to go out and you want to win, you want to do whatever, but like, for example, Rochester's last in the International League. They're 9.5 games back. But Syracuse is in 8th and 5 games back. Like, there's not a ton of space between a lot of these teams here in terms of movability where it's like, if we talk about what happened with Rochester in June last year. All it takes really is just one bad week the way it's structured now, and it's going to completely change just the way your season go and the way people talk about your season at the end of the day.
Yeah, and sorry to switch topics a little bit, but I just thought about this before we end the show. Say the Mets, get swept tonight. They score just one run again. Do you think Mark Vientos would be on his way up for tomorrow's opener against the Braves?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned that anyway a little bit, right? I just don't understand why you just don't bring him up or Mauricio up just to at least try something, right? Like, I just figure it out,
Yeah, I mean, and then, like, tomorrow, Vientos, Beatty, and Alvarez all in the lineup. I think that might spark it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Plus Toledo, one little layover probably somewhere in Detroit, but, you get there quick. Or worst case, you can drive. I mean, I've done the drive to Wisconsin and back, obviously, through there, so it's not bad. Not bad at all. All right, so appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hopefully it's going to be a better weekend of baseball. I don't know. I mean, we hope, right?
Yeah, maybe we'll have some more sticky stuff and
Christ. I don't want to talk about that for a third straight week.
It's got to be coming, you know it.
I don't want to do it for a third straight week. I just don't.
Phil Cuzzy, where's he
have
been?
It in my body.
It seems like Phil Cuzzy has, been a little quiet lately. I haven't really seen any videos of him, checking umpires in the last week.
I'm trying to do a quick search to see where he possibly could be.
Maybe he's been told to, take it easy on these pitchers a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it might be. I don't know. I don't see anything for today where he might be. It might be one of those, because there's not a ton of games today. This might be one of those off things. So I don't know.
Watch him work Watch him work the 4-game series of Mets Braves.
Oh Christ, poor guys. That might ruin him. So, all right, everybody. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll talk with everybody on Monday. Till then, enjoy the weekend. Go outside, stay safe, and have some fun.